The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What is up, fight fans? We are back for episode 30 here on the Belly Up Sports Networks for Combat Deviants. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Rochelle, and kicking it right off with our first guest this afternoon is Miss Sydney Smith. How are we doing this afternoon? I know it's a little late on our end. You know, apologies on that. It's typically when me and my co-host and producer, who's usually with me, tends to like to kick things off.
It's all good, man. There's fights on, so I'm up watching them anyway.
Exactly. There's always something going on in the combat sports world. There's
a lot going on tonight. There's like PFL, and then I think like LFA is going on too. So
yeah, did you see Amanda Levy's post? She's done. She's not doing MMA anymore.
Oh, really?
I
didn't see that.
Well, she was supposed to fight on last weekend's card because that's when they were doing the featherweights.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was something with her medicals, and she made an announcement this week that they found something in her CT scan and that she's done, and she's not going to be able to get medically cleared, which really sucks because I was really looking forward to seeing how she could do in MMA and in PFL. You know, when you have a grappler at that level, it's just somebody you have to want to see them perform, especially when you have someone like Kayla Harrison in that weight class. Amanda is very highly decorated, in the IBBJJF world. So it was, kind of a tough pill to swallow. I'm from Philly too, so it's really tough for me, man.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, like, I've been sidelined so long for like medical stuff, and I mean, just being told like the finality of it, of saying like you're never going to be medically cleared. Like I don't know, that'd be rough, man.
Especially when you're what's in you that nature, that competitive fire. Hopefully, she could turn it into something like coaching or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
She's already had her own gym. I think COVID put an end to the first run of Levy MMA, so hopefully she dives back into that. It just really sucks. I want to see her perform. On the other side of that, Amanda LeBrock put a statement on last weekend's fight.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah, we had her on a few weeks ago, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't really think anyone's really talking about me." I'm like, if you're asking me on the outside looking in, just on looking on the paper, you take Aspen Ladd's name off that list. She was probably the name at the top of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you always want to be humble and things like that. She's been, she's fought a lot of girls in, Invicta, Bellator, etc. So it's interesting to see how she does now.
Yeah,
big win there. You get the 6 points off the bat. It's a good start for her.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always great, like such a good feeling to take a win like that, and then not to have any damage and be able to turn around and just keep getting it. Like that was so sick. That was such a beauty. I saw it live, and I was like, what? I think everybody was. They were like, holy crap.
Yeah. I know, it was funny. We were talking. I'm like, you thinking about that check at the end? She's like, no. Her post-fight reaction says something different.
Yeah, she's like,
I was like, big ups, Amber. That was a nice fight. And speaking of fights last week, I'd be remiss not to ask you on your post UFC 287 reactions. I gotta ask you: was Izzy's
I mean,
post-fight stuff out of control? Obviously, this is Alex's son after the first knockout, right?
yeah.
Here's here's Izzy doing his impersonation of it after the fact. A lot of people apparently in the MMA community sitting there saying Izzy went out of hand. I was like, wait a minute now, wait a minute. I know a lot of people are love-hate when it comes to Israel Adesanya, right? I get that.
Yeah.
But when you see the footage of what happened in the first fight, and no one corrected Alex's son, not even Alex.
Yeah.
You had to know it was big props to Izzy for not making it about anything like that before the fight or anything like that. Obviously, not only did Alex stop him once, but he stopped him twice, and once in Muay Thai, once in MMA.
That was brutal.
Obviously that's probably the bigger one last Saturday night. What are your thoughts on people being upset about it? Was Izzy out of line?
I mean, I am a mother, and I think we're responsible for our kids, and they watch us, like they emulate us, monkey see, monkey do, and if you're not correcting your kids, it's probably because like you're out there doing the same thing. And I mean, I don't think that kid's going to be doing it anymore. You know what I'm saying? I think if you put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said, like, especially if, I mean, humility goes a long way. And I mean, I don't think he was terribly out of line. I mean, it might have been a little dramatic, but
it'd be different if like there was
like I said,
something else behind it, like if there was something malicious about it.
yeah.
He kind of did the same thing, except it wasn't within closer proximity or anything like that. It's not
kind of
like
like
he
that
got
face thing in the basketball when it was
it's kind of
it was cool when the one girl did it, but the other girl got some flack for it.
It's something
I mean,
we kind of encourage in this sport.
Tit for tat, I mean,
But
do
then
unto
there's
others
this
as
saying
you
like,
have them do unto you.
He was
So
clearly upset. I'm like, but at the same time, we know how combat sports world. You bring them into that situation, they tend to get involved in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, we've seen Alex's son in the ring after the first time he stopped Izzy. You had to know it was coming, especially if he was right there ringside.
I mean, you had to know. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of forgot what I was about to say, but yeah. I mean, it. I don't think it was too terrible. And here's what I was gonna say is you have to think like he finished him, you know. And so like when you're in a fight, whether you win any way that you win, your adrenaline is crazy. Sometimes it's hard to put words together in the post fight interview and stuff. So like I don't know. I mean, give the man a break. He just won. He brutally knocked out like the dude who knocked him out.
It's his combat sports rival, so to speak. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like a rivalry really isn't needed in combat sports. For the most part, you're right. It really isn't needed because you guys are already fighting as it is, anyways. But when it's not manufactured, when there's a real reason to have a rivalry with somebody like what something Izzy and Alex had, you can't shy away from it. You have to embrace what it is.
It's to feed into it. You know what I mean?
Winning it, they're going to run it back another time. So let's not even say when. When it happens, that's going to be a talking point leading up to whenever they fight. Unfortunately, it's going to happen, in my opinion. But that's what I say.
I mean, I feel like it's a square deal. You know what I mean? That like they're even now, so to speak. So like, why bring it up? Why bring somebody's kid into it when it's all said and done? Like, he proved his point and just move forward.
Izzy brought light on it because you know how the combat sports world and the media world works. If they fight again, they're not going to talk about how great Izzy looked, after being on the ropes and points of that fight or anything like that. Nor when he does, the absolutely brutal, bowman shot that he did right there after the fight. Like no one's going to talk about it. They're just going to talk about everything between Alex's kid and Izzy. They're not going to talk about.
That's how the world works now.
It is, unfortunately. It is.
They're always looking for something drama instead of the real content of like what's really going on or what matters. It's just what can we use to get views and stir up drama because that's what everybody likes. Yay.
Speaking of drama, the king of drama
Keeping it
himself,
real.
Mr. Jorge Masvidal, wound up hanging it up after the fight.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people aren't happy with his post-fight speech or anything like that. I don't want to beat on that drum too much, but are you surprised that
Let's go, Brandon.
Gamebred walked away? That Jorge was like, you know what, I'm done on that stage in that. Like you have you looked around, he probably had a few more fights, but a saying that Dana says all the time, if you're thinking about the R word, just walk away, man.
Well, I mean, it was his hometown, right? He's from Miami, and that's where he got inspired to fight. And I feel like, it's his choice. Who gives a crap whether he could have fought
He
a couple
started in
more fights?
backyards. He started
He
in
said
backyards
like,
and no one was paying him. That's all I gotta
yeah,
say. We
and
all know
like,
where he came from, so we already
yeah,
know that he has nothing else to prove to anybody.
right. And the fact of the matter is like he was already he made it very clear. He's like, some of your favorite basketball players don't have that 3-point shot no more. You know what I mean? He's like, he just doesn't have that edge. And he's smart enough to realize that, like, he's been in the game for 20 years. He made a name, he made a life for himself. He has promotions. He's got all this stuff going for him. And to walk away with his health and his head held high, that was a great fight to walk away on. And, he just did it on his terms. Who cares what everybody else thinks? If he was ready to go, he's ready to go. But, you got to think you've got all these really, really hungry, young, athletic, like kids who aren't injured and can heal really quickly if they do get injured. It's just a different game now. And to realize that, like, you've done what you came to do and you're happy and satisfied with that. I mean, can't knock him for that, man.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not knocking him for that. It's just one of those things where I think in the combat sports world, boxing, MMA, whatever, we like to hold on to
Yeah.
our favorite fighters just a little bit longer than we should, and it's not one of those sports where you could do it where it's like, where you can hide a guy in baseball when he's not the same guy he was when he was like a
Yeah.
21, 20. You can't do that in combat sports. You can't.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide out there. If you lost a touch, the game's gonna find out before you want it to know.
Yeah, it might find out before you find out. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's the ultimate revealer. I mean, it
Well, no,
is,
and
but I
then
mean,
it's funny we say that because then you look at what bare knuckle has. It's basically you're looking at it from at least the way that BKFC has done it, is you're taking some of the guys that still want to get the last few treads out of their tires, whatever. These UFC guys who aren't doing that bad in bare knuckle, when we're saying that at the
yeah.
same time. But I think I think Dave's doing an awesome thing, giving these guys a home. The big card coming up with Mendez, Alvarez, and Perry and Rockhold looks
Looking
to be
forward to
pretty fun.
Christine. Oh, she's terrifying, dude.
How I
She's
took you for
awesome,
that card,
bro.
though.
She's freaking awesome. I I'm I mean, like I said, I like the other fights. Like Mendez looked great on the bag, like his bag work. I was like, God, I wish I had his shoulders, like,
He does,
um,
dude. He's got like that bodybuilder shoulder
oh God.
that neck. It's that like where it almost looks like he's got like the muscles on top of his muscles on his neck.
Yeah, like, can I just have a little bit of that in my shoulders, But like, yeah, like I said, the Christine and well, Beck got married. I don't know her last name now.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry,
It
but
used to be Beck Rollins, but that's not who she is
yeah,
anymore. Or
I
no,
know I
actually,
can't.
it was Hyatt too before. It was Beck Rollins,
Uh,
Hyatt. Who is it?
I missed
Who does
that
she
one.
get married to now?
Uh, I don't know. I can't remember the last name.
Yeah, I don't even
Um,
remember what who.
Man, she's just in my
When
brain
she
as Beck
first got in,
Rollins.
like when I first started covering combat sports, I had another show called Cage Side Submissions.
Yeah, I
And
remember
I
that.
was able, I was able to head over and cover a couple of the early events. So I remember when Leslie Smith made that cut to like down to 125, and she looked like Skeletor. I remember being there looking how drawn out she looked. It was one of the first times I was like, yeah, no, we need to do something about weight cutting in combat sports. It's rough, but all those people followed me right around those time, and it's just funny to watching people's journey go from when they were in Invicta. Now you go and looking where Beck is now in her career. Even Christine, when she was early on in Invicta, basically,
I used to watch her in
no
Invicta.
one really wanted her there. She was kicking ass over in line fights for almost 2.5 years before Dave formed BKFC, and she's really flourished over there.
Oh yeah.
Now here's the other thing of like where she's in this spot right now. Like they're basic. Are you are you honestly happy with the fight with Beck? Is it like you as a competitor looking from the outside looking in? Is that the type of matchup you want to have when it comes your turn to fight for a title, whatever? When you're 3-4 fights in, let's be really clear about this. So no one misconstrues what I'm trying to say. Like as you're a champion, you're like you're trying to build your legacy. Is these the type of fights you're going to help her build that legacy?
I mean, but who else is there really? You know what I mean? She's pretty much beat everybody.
Yes.
And also, I mean, like, I think she feels some type of way because people are out there styling Beck as like the BKFC like 125 champion. And she's not the current champion. She was at the very beginning, but she's not now. And Christine kind of feels some type of way about that because she's got the belt and she's she's badass, dude.
Yeah, but it's like almost irrelevant. It was,
but I feel
it seems
I mean, I get what you're
Christine gets
saying.
fired up over over little things a lot.
Well, I mean, it's the combat world, and she has every right to.
Exactly,
I mean,
right?
Like.
Well, no, like, all right. Did you see the thing with her getting upset with Jamie Driver a few weeks ago?
No.
Well, apparently, BoxRec had her ranked as the #1 female for her weight class, and I guess people started tagging Christine because I guess Jamie was excited about it. And then everyone was like telling her to recognize that Christine's the real champ and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, y'all realize there's almost 3 weight classes between these women, right? Jamie fights at welterweight. Christine fights at flyweight. Are we having this conversation?
I mean, I missed that one. So I can't really
I don't understand why there was a situation to begin with, considering
I didn't hear about that
even if she is the #1 female welterweight in the world right now, it's not really saying that much because that division hasn't been built out. Same thing with Christine.
Yeah.
She's 125. There's no one really there.
Well, I mean, there was.
You want to start seeing some of these. I mean, I don't know if she going to get to this point where when the division gets developed full of talented fighters that she might be at the point where the game is passed her on and she's not going to really be able to test herself against those fighters. Or maybe she'll get one of them, but she gets them so early on.
Christine, that's all
you know what I mean? What's that?
Look, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, but right now, I mean, if you really look at the 125 roster, she's pretty much fought like everybody. And she fought Burton twice. I mean, so it's kind of like, she's down to strawweight.
That Christine was going to go down there. I'm like, why? Why are we having this conversation?
I'm not sure if she will or not. But that's up to her. I mean, if she wants to.
I mean, obviously, whatever you decide is her career path. It's her career path.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why you would go down the fight a girl you already beat twice.
Well, I mean, if it was just to fight Burton, I think maybe that would be a silly reason to cut down there. But if it was just for, for lack of a better term, shits and giggles, or just to do it and say she was the dual division championship, or if she goes up to 135 and takes that, but you know what I mean, if they build that division, like whatever, like I
I
think
would like to
that's
see
just
her
kind of like her goal is just to
do
have
what
everything.
I would like to see her do what Valentina did when she was in the UFC, and she was trying to go for that second one. Now, granted, I
Yeah.
think they would probably be building the 35-pound division with her, with Christine in mind,
Yeah.
where Valentina was trying to capture a title from the GOAT, and that just she just kept falling short.
Yeah.
She couldn't do what what Juliana Pena did.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that Christine's gonna stay active no matter what.
Oh,
And like
without a doubt,
she's just pretty much like I'll fight whoever you have at this point. Cause like I said, I think like she's pretty much just fought everybody.
it's getting to that
And she'll
point. That's
fight him
what I'm
again.
saying.
I
Like,
mean, she doesn't care, but like, yeah, I get where you're coming from with the Beck thing, because she hasn't even fought bare knuckle in like a while or
that's what I'm
really
saying.
much of
Like,
anything. I think
like,
she did like a
like
boxing fight
Beck
not
could
too
have
long ago.
said that
So
she was the Jesus Christ superstar of bare knuckle boxing, and it sounds just as funny as her
so
sitting there
funny.
saying, "I used to be the queen of that division. You used to be. You ain't been here. You've been trying to do this, trying to do that, dealing with personal things.
Yeah.
Having fun with Dick, Jane, and Bob. It doesn't matter. You're not doing what you need to be doing in the cage or ring. In this case, Christine's been ruling that ring, that division with an iron fist and an iron chin. So ain't nobody testing her at this point in time. The
I
Christine
feel like
Sterling fight I felt was absolutely forced on us in every way, shape, or form. I'm not happy with it. I want to see them giving her better fights. More to
yeah,
get
I feel
behind
like
besides fabricated nonsense.
so I feel like kind of like what Burton mentioned with her last fight, because she was supposed to fight Fanny anyway for the original, like the inaugural 115 belt, right? And then some weird stuff happened with Fanny not being able to fight or whatever. I don't know. I've heard all kinds of stuff. So suffice to say that like she just didn't fight, which is cool because Sagala, I think, is that one? So that's who stepped up to fight. But anyway, um branching out to like Thailand or something, you know what I mean? Because they have a BKFC out there and there's hella talent in Thailand, you know what I mean? So I feel like, maybe that would be sort of
I mean,
her
that's
next step too if she
probably
got
where you
bored
want to
here.
see is probably like, yeah, we're gonna have to go outside of what we think a normal fight would be for her to test
Yeah.
herself, like I guess the Apollo Rocky thing where you got give the hometown unknown a chance. She's gonna have
Yeah.
to do something like that to maybe find that fight that's gonna be the style matchup that makes that great fight for her.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, she'll fight anybody. So
Without a
I
doubt,
feel
like that's
like
what I'm
if
saying.
they,
You can clearly see that as she's about to pick a fight with Jamie Driver, who's two weight
she
classes up.
don't care.
She wants to be the best in the world. In
She'll
bare
fight
knuckle,
anybody,
doesn't
bro.
matter who. And I know what she means. Like, don't matter what the number of the weight is. I want to be the baddest woman in bare knuckle. Point. She definitely is at this point in time. Like
Yeah.
let's throw weight at when everyone wants to throw the pound for pound goat at. When we're talking about bare knuckle boxing and women, it has to be Christine Freire. Ain't nobody
There's
can argue that
nobody
fact.
else. Yeah, no, there's nobody. I mean, she's punching metal poles and stuff like it doesn't even. It's like nothing. She's. I love watching her stuff too,
Yeah,
but she's
she's
so
got
gangster.
that grit, that something you
Yeah,
always want to see that person perform, no matter what
and it's
on
cool
any level.
because like
She don't like to talk. I used to interview her all the time. She don't talk to me anymore because I talked to one of her opponents. I
try
still got love for her.
it.
I still got
Yeah,
love for
try
her.
it.
I don't hate her. I get it. It happens.
I don't care. I'll talk to anybody, but yeah, she's cool, man.
Your
I like
opponent
her.
is speaking of that. Your opponent. I've had Andy Wynn on here thousands of times.
Oh
Talked to her so many
yeah,
different times over the years.
she's
Talk
fought like
about
a
crazy
bajillion times.
stories, and we talked about all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, she lives a colorful life, man. She's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
cool.
dude. She's a bag full of fun. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, she's happy with her life, so like, hell yeah. Yeah,
And it's one of the
do what
things
you
that
do.
I think that she enjoys life and she lives it to the
Yeah.
fullest. So definitely definitely appreciate that about Miss Win over there.
Can't knock her for it, you know.
Oh yeah, right. She's
Yeah.
fun though, but you got your own little crazy side. Yeah, I seen this post on yours over here.
Yeah,
You don't live inside the lines by any means, right?
not really. Why do you think we fight?
Yeah, right. So obviously
Yeah.
you got the fight with Andy Nguyen, BKFC 42 coming up here about a month or so down there in South
Yeah.
Carolina. How excited are you for this fight?
Dude, I'm really excited. I really didn't care who I was fighting, because they had that card in Norfolk, and I really, 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 really wanted to fight on that one because I live in Virginia, and I mean, everybody would have come to it. But they had me matched up with somebody, and she got injured. So that didn't work out. And so I was just kind of like bugging my manager. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And so then he was like,
Is that what you said to
he,
Brian? What's up?
no, I got Chris Creech. He's
Okay,
super cool.
Gotcha,
Yeah, I got
gotcha.
Creech. So anyway, Creech is cool, man. I love him. He deals with me very well, because I'm special. But anyway, so like my life is like Murphy's Law on crack, dude. I'm not even exaggerating. Like anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it's just crazy. But I make it work. So that's great. But so I was bugging him, and I was like, yo, like, come on, please tell me something, like I want to fight. And he was like, yeah, we got this chick named Andy Wayne. I was like, he was like, May 12th, South Carolina. I was like, done, sign me up, like send the papers, let's fight, like, because I knew she was gonna show up. And like, she always fights, and I don't think like she really is pulled out for injuries or stuff. So like, I know she's gonna be there, she'll be healthy, she's gonna be on weight, which is really important because after this last fight, when she missed by 4 pounds, we're not doing that anymore. So I'm not accepting this anymore. Get the word out. So if y'all were missing weight on purpose because you knew I would take the fight anyway, that's done. So um,
Oh,
yeah, I
listen.
mean, if it's like a
No,
pound,
we've
then
seen
that's
this
fine.
before. Like we're fighters. You made the weight. I don't. I'm not. I don't. I get your. I get some guys do it. I get half your purse stuff. Some fighters just be like, I made
Well, I got
weight.
a
You
hundred
did it.
dollars
Have a
per
nice
pound,
night.
but I didn't care about that. What that was like the very last like agreement that they came to because she refused to cut anymore. She walked perfectly fine to the scale, like she was fine. She did all the interviews fine. She wasn't like dragging herself off the floor because she couldn't cut anymore. Like I've been there, I've seen my teammates be there, like they're borderline going to the hospital, like type deal to get down to weight. Like she just refused. She refused to a weight cap the next day. Like just was very flippant about it, like just didn't care. And it always just pisses me off. And I'm like, you know what? I put in the work. I want to fight. And like it just it's irritating because at this point we're supposed to be professionals, right? And that's part of our job is to make weight. Like
That's
you
the
knew
first
about
job,
the
right?
fight.
First job as a professional is make weight, right?
It's not like, oh, you took this fight on 2 weeks notice and
I
it's
got
that time of the month. Like I understand that. Like I get that, been there myself. But you knew about this fight for months. So really, you just didn't care. And I mean, it's just that was the third fight in a row that I took where my opponents missed weight by 4 pounds, 5 pounds, and then 4 pounds again. 3 fights in a row, 3 MMA fights in a row of them all missing like that. So it's just like it's annoying at this
So
point.
is that why
So.
we're making our BKFC debut because sick of getting these MMA girls who don't want to make weight?
Nah, man. I mean, like we tried to find some MMA fights and like I don't know, it just wasn't working. And honestly, like um, I really wanted to do it. Like I've been watching it for like since it started, and they've only had like 125 for females, which is not what I fight at. And so I always said, if they open 115, like I want to crack at it. Cause you're just standing and banging, bro. Like that's my favorite thing in the world to do. Like I don't have to worry about these girls trying to take me down and just lay on me for the round, do whatever, just to win points and blah blah blah. Like, no, we're here, we're gonna fight, we're going to war, and like that's all I
It's
care
one of the
about, bro.
best thing
Like I
about
just want to
BKFC.
fight. I'm so excited.
You don't see a whole lot of point fighting. You see
No.
whatever
Bang.
guy, whatever girl steps in the ring that night, they go put it all out there.
Hell yeah.
As we're up against it, Sydney, what I typically do here at the end is throw the proverbial microphone over you. Anyone you want to thank, shoot at your training partners, teammates, shoot at the social media sites for sponsors, your social media sites, and anything you want to let the people know outside of the combat sports world. The time is yours, my friend.
Oh, that's always like the worst part for me. I always feel like I forget somebody. No, for real, I just want to thank first and foremost like Scarface over at Neutral Corner. He runs Street Beast and stuff, man. He gave us all a home and a phenomenal gym to trade in for free. And all of my training partners there. Shout out to MMA Institute, Mastering MMA up in Bridgewater. Um, Shout out to my kid's dad for watching him so I can train. You know, I don't know. I thank you to Seneca Health in Charlottesville. He's my physical therapist. His name's Getty. He's incredible. And it's worth a drive if you're not over there, but he's phenomenal. Takes all the white coat hypertension out of everything, and he's like a genie with your body. It's really weird, but it's awesome. And I always just want to give a shout out to Be Cool Window Care. He's one of like my oldest friends, and he has always supported me through everything. And he does a phenomenal job. Like, dude works hard, and his son and my son are pretty good friends, little toddler buddies. But anyway, yeah, I mean, just shout out to like my friends and anybody who encourages me. And yeah, that's it, pretty much. Just my gym and my family. Yeah.
Well, always appreciate all our athletes' time that they give us here on Belly Up Sports, here on Combat Deviants. Best of skill for you next month against Andy. That's BKFC 42, Greenville, South Carolina. What's that? May 12th? May 12th.
Yeah.
May 12th. Make sure you guys are tuning in, whether you buy tickets or head over to the BKFC or Fight app. Sydney, definitely going to have you back on here again in the future.
Thank you.
Best of skill. We'll catch up after the fight, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right, everyone. That was Sydney Smith. And without any further ado, we're going to be joined by our second and final guest of the evening, BKFC lightweight, Mr. Tim Hester. How are we feeling this evening, my friend? How we doing?
Doing good, man. Just chilling, had some food. Now I'm relaxing.
Oh, yeah, dude, I hear you there, dude. Well, as wifey likes to tell me, I like the old man, and I had to take a little cat nap beforehand, all that good stuff. You know, being an adult, it runs us down a little bit more than we like to admit sometimes. But there's a whole lot of stuff to talk about in the combat sports world this week, my friend. I want to start it off with, I guess that the headline of the week was IZZY reclaims the title in absolutely the most dominant way you could ever ask to have a former champion reclaim your gold. Slaying his rival, not only slaying his rival, but getting it in the absolute most brutal way. Obviously, we've all seen the Bowman approach that IZZY had afterwards. But I want to get your thoughts, Timmy, on the other post-fight stuff. Obviously, people don't know, after the first kickboxing fight, Alex's son hops in the ring, does a little plop down right in front of IZZY after the fight. Obviously, IZZY goes after this fight, finds out where Alex is, and gives him a little taste of his medicine. What are your thoughts on this, man? Some people feel IZZY went too far. I feel, didn't say anything about it leading up to the first fight, this fight, whatever, about what happened in that fight. Obviously, it's something that he remembered. Some people say, kids are off bounds when it comes to combat sports. No matter we're talking boxing, whatever, kids are off bounds. When you bring your kids involved the way Alex did, don't you make them not out of bounds anymore?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of brought family into it with that situation. I mean, and you got to think, Alex has been living in IZZY's head rent free for all these years, and to finally crack him and beat him, you expect the biggest hype, and it's IZZY of all people. Did you expect him not to go over the top with his celebrations? It's just, that's the kind of guy he is.
That's who he is. Yeah, exactly.
You can't hate him for being him. I mean, do. Fuck.
the only one I can think of as more over the top of the celebrations is Michael Venom Page. Is the only other fighter I can think of.
But
currently.
Yeah. But at the same time, they back it up. I mean, if you can back it up, you talk your shit, man. That's just the way it is.
Well, that's the thing. Izzy don't really talk a whole lot of stuff. So when you see him getting in this way, like it's a memorable thing. And it's something I think the sport needs it on a genuine basis, not when it's manufactured, not when it's forced. No one knew about this leading up to this fight. And that's what I said, why I think there's a place for this. The unfortunate thing is we're going to be talking about this when they do fight later on down the road. And they are going to. Let's be honest. I know Izzy doesn't want to fight right now. It's going to happen again. They're going to fight again. Whether it's at 185 pounds or not is another story.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, that's for business right there. And
dude, if I'm both of those guys, I hold the UFC nuts over the coals.
Right.
Both of those guys need to be paid like $5 million a pop.
Yep. And that kid's grew up around fighting, so he knows how it is.
Yeah, I mean, he should like everyone's like, oh, that poor kid. Like, dude, like you act like he hasn't been in the sport, been in the gym, seen his dad get cracked before, get dropped, and like, he's seen it before. Not on that scale, obviously. Not on that scale, but not only to a guy that you've also personally been a tormentor to. So
yeah,
it's. I think he was well within reason. No, he didn't go overboard. He didn't go outside of the cage and get in and like go to him front to front. He did it from the cage, which is almost a good 20 yards from where this kid was.
Yep.
What he did that Izzy, I felt, was a little bit more personal, worse. Why I think he did back was a proper response. He didn't go overboard. The combat sports world fans are just a little flaky at times. I think people want to find reasons to hate on Izzy. He's not your typical champion or things of that nature. I get that. Whatever. You're gonna have people who are pro or con for whatever way. But I think both Izzy and Alex's stars shine bright after last weekend's fight. Hopefully Alex moves up to 205. Makes a run there. Maybe he goes and wins a title there. And, ask Izzy to unify it and then run it back another time there. That might be a fun situation we could see happen over the next year.
Yeah.
What do you think is next for these two? If you're playing your Mick Maynard card, we're gonna make you the matchmaker for the UFC for these two 185-pound fighters.
It's kind of hard though, because you gotta think if Alex goes up to 205 and loses, then his stock goes down for 85. And Izzy, let's just say someone shocks him, beats him, Costa comes back, Whitaker comes back, and upsets them somehow. Their stock it's just a lot on the line for such a big money fight for them. Why would y'all move away from this? You might as well try, let it air out, give these guys some time to train, and then make it the beginning of the year next year or something. So you can get their bolts back, tighten, and all that stuff. It's just there's too much money on the line to lose there with them guys.
And we get that because you're starting to see some of that going on with the UFC matchmaking. Amanda Nunes is not happy that she's running it back with Juliana Pena again. Obviously, Pena shocked the world, stopping her last year. Amanda absolutely avenged that, completely smothering and kind of doing typical lioness things to Juliana the second fight. We are getting the trilogy of that. Obviously, Amanda's not happy. She said that's not the name she expected on the contract. From Juliana's camp, they said that Amanda was forced to take this fight. We're also seeing a lot of people not happy about the Colby Covington, Rocky Edwards fight. It's one of these things where you knew the Colby thing was a thing that was going to happen when the right guy lost the belt. You knew this was coming.
Yep. Well, Peter Yan, remember him? I mean, he fought Aljamain for the second time. They didn't run it back, and now Peter Yan's on a losing streak, so no one wants to see that fight anymore.
Yeah, now the Funk Master got the toughest fight of his career in Triple C, man.
Oh yeah. You never know though, Aljamain.
Yeah, really I say it all the time. Like we talk about how great Cejudo's run was a few years ago before he decided to take his time away and do whatever he was doing with his combat sports career. Now I decided he's back. He's taking a run at it now Now, Aljamain Sterling is the champion. A lot of people have pros and cons about this. Styles make fights in combat sports. Every time you think you know something about the sport turns the plate upside down on the table. Now you got a big old mess. You don't know what's going on.
Yep. Cody.
You see it all the time. Every time you think somebody's unbeatable, untouchable, there's somebody who is hungrier, stronger, more adapted to X, Y, and Z, whatever this guy or girl's X factor is. There's always someone that comes up to surprise us. No one thought that Rose Namajunas would have 2 UFC title runs at this point in time. She was just some girl that was off the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yep, knocking out Zhang of all people too. No one would have thought that either.
Like there's just so many unexpected things that happen in combat sports that we love. It's one of the reasons why you have the fans tune in. Hopefully, I got to get your opinions on this because it's also happened recently. A lot of people feel the Endeavor thing is going to start mixing into UFC and WWE, but haven't we already been doing that the past 5 years anyways?
Yep. I mean, look at Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar. I mean, they're kind of...
Yeah, I mean, obviously Brock made his bones on the WWE going into the UFC. Obviously, when he figured out how strong them boys hit at heavyweight at some point in time, he figured out he didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah. Ronda probably went on one of the greatest runs in women's MMA to put them on the map. We're not talking women's combat sports today without Ronda Rousey, regardless of how you feel about Gina Carano, Chris Cyborg, whatever name you else want to throw in there, Julie Kedzie. There's so many people you can mention that played a part before Ronda that doesn't get quite the respect. Yep. You're not here. We're not talking about women's MMA on the level that we are. We're definitely not talking about straw weights, anything like that without someone like Ronda Rousey breaking down doors. Now, she obviously, was probably had one of the skill sets that you didn't really see. Yeah. Strikers didn't know what to do with her. Wrestlers tried to grab her. They wound up on their head and getting their arms snapped in half. Yeah. And it took the right mixed martial artist to finally beat her. And then she ran off and people were upset. I'm like, why? Do you not realize that's what she's done?
Yeah.
Anyone who followed her career followed her enough to know anytime she took a big loss on a big stage, she would disappear from the face of the earth. Her own mom, after she lost judo nationals, could not find her for 2 years.
Really? I didn't even know that.
She would not when she won bronze. The Olympics before that, she didn't even make it. She lost nationals. She just apparently took off, was doing whatever. It took her almost to the point of getting ready for the next Olympics before she was able to locate Ronda and reel her back into training.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not crazy to think that she did that. And when you realize we're all creatures of habit, of patterns. It was going to happen. You were right. She was riding such a high that it was going to happen. Yep. And then not just that, it's just after she lost again and again, and you can't make that back up. It's one of those things where you take that L and it's just sometimes you're not able to recover from it, and that's something that happened to her, unfortunately. But she was lucky where she had a character that she built enough where she could turn it over back into wrestling, which is something she loved initially as it was anyways.
Yep.
So I don't think it's a bad thing. Actually, I think for some of these guys or girls who have the gift of gab and maybe not the greatest fighter on the planet, maybe you are better served to go across the room and say, hey, let's do WWE for a few years. Let's let's roll that contract over or something. I'm gonna go try my bones over there.
Well, and it's a good retirement fund for these guys that are getting past their prime. Like, think about Nate and Nick Diaz. I mean, having them guest appearance on WWE would be amazing. So there's some pros and cons to it for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, it's something we talk about all the time. Like, with what has changed in the UFC. Obviously, a lot of things changed, like when Zuffa sold the company. Now Endeavor has bought another company. It was inevitable. This is what this company does. It's what the previous company used to do. They just buy up assets. It's the same thing, man. You know, they have shareholders that they have to answer to, and this is exactly what happens. So,
Yeah.
even you talk to Dana White at, you know, when the media's asking them, you just from hearing it from the sounds of what they're like, this was going to happen at some point in time, as it is, anyways.
Yeah.
Should be fun to see what happens. You know, if some UFC fighters go over, or even more so now, if you find some of these guys who are in the WWE, maybe they didn't feel. Maybe they get that urge and want to be in combat sports more than CM Punk did. You could get a situation where. Well, now the funny part is we got the Jake Paul and Diaz announcements over the weekend. The funny thing was the first announcement that I heard was it wasn't going to be Jake Paul and Diaz August 5th. That it was going to be CM Punk and Jake Paul. I didn't know what the legitimacy of that was. Obviously, it was just some rumor. As over the weekend, we got Diaz and Jake Paul are going to be boxing August 5th in Texas.
Yeah, I thought they were still on for PFL, CM Punk and Paul.
Oh God, please. Now I got to ask you something about the Jake Paul thing.
Yeah.
Jake Paul walks around, fights around at about 205 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a problem him continually fighting like kind of aged welterweights here? Because this is becoming a pattern now.
I mean, after the Tommy Fury, before that, you gotta think he just started out as a pro, and who remembers anybody's first pro fight? The guy you fought. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, no one remembers. He's actually fighting named fighters. Like, it sucks that they're older, but they're getting paid, and he's getting his pro record up, and he's getting a name to it. And he got that chance to fight Tommy Fury, and he didn't look bad versus Tommy Fury. So I can't really hate on him for that.
Oh, no, like, listen, I'm not going to hate on what Jake has done, but I can't take him seriously when, all right, you're a man, you know he walks around, he's fighting at cruiserweight, light heavyweight, whatever, however you want to word it, whether we're talking boxing or combat sports in general.
Yeah.
You're fighting guys that are 2 weight classes below what you typically fight at, walk around at. We know where this is going. We know bad matchmaking when we see it. You can't pull the wool over people's eyes who have watched the sport long enough.
He's not trying to catch our eyes. He's trying to catch all them little TikTokers and people who don't give a fuck about fighting. They don't care. They don't care about Mate's wealth. They don't care about none of that. They care about Jake Paul used to do Vine and danced his ass a little around and all that. That's what they care about.
Hey, man, you ain't wrong. I'll say that much. You ain't wrong there, brother. It's one of the unfortunate things that we got to deal with in the combat sports world is that it's not necessarily about who you are or who you're fighting. It's about who's on the card, who's the most popular.
Yep.
And it hasn't really become the best versus the best of what I think a lot of people who've been involved in combat sports, involved in boxing long enough. You don't want to see that, but at the same time, if it's putting money in your pocket, why should you care?
Yeah, well,
this is something we've all kind of bought into. Like, I guess, like when you're built up in a way that gets you paid in this sport, it's supposed to be done this way. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, nor should it be. It shouldn't be. There's only one way to make it in this sport.
Yep.
It can't just be that anymore when we know that this sport makes billions and trillions of dollars a year when we're talking about combat sports.
Yeah, I think boxing really did that the most because, with boxing, your O matters a lot. If you're 21-0, 5-0, that means a lot to you. And I think that branched off in the other sports too because people don't want to see these guys who are 20 and 10 fighting. They want to see someone's O has got to go. That's all they look for some reason. That's why I like bare knuckle because you see guys like who's that guy who just fought? He's like 6-5. He's
I got a better one for you, man. Tony Kryptonite Lopez. He's like the grandfather of the late replacements. He's almost got like 150 total fights.
Yeah.
He is like that dude is the epitome. Like he may not be the the sharpest tool in the toolbox, but he gets the most use and he gets the job done the times. God damn.
Yep.
There's guys like that in the sport, and then there's guys or girls involved in it that are there for their name value, for bringing in this section or section of demographic or fan, or however you want to word that. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think those fights need to be properly placed. Where you look at what the UFC does sometimes, you'll have a guy who is like, like 25-2, has lost 2 fights in the last 10 years of his career, but he's on the undercard because he's just not the greatest talker on the mic, and maybe he's more wrestling based than striking based, and he gets put in there with a lot of grapplers. He doesn't knock him out a whole lot, but he's probably one of the better fighters in the world. But he gets overshot by the guy who's the loudmouth on the mic, who's bravado, who's confident in himself. He gets overlooked by that guy.
Yeah,
I think you just need to properly place them on the card. That's all. I think both of those guys should be on the pay-per-view, but a lot of times it's not what happens. The guy that can talk is good on the pay-per-view, and the guy that probably earned that spot is buried somewhere in the prelims. That's the only problem I see with what the new model is, I would say.
Yeah.
But all right, I was just talking with Sydney. We were talking about the big fight that's coming up in a few weeks, where you got Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendez, and you got Mike Perry and Luke Rockhold, and then she mentions Christine.
Yeah,
Christine's in a weird spot, man. She is without a doubt the baddest 125-pound female on the planet in bare knuckle boxing. With no one to fight.
Yep.
No one that can help bring value to her name. No one that can what me and Sydney were talking. She might have to do one of those Apollo things. Is find the tough, gritty gym fighter that's from this state. That this is where I'm going to be fighting. That's the fighter that I want to fight.
Yeah.
And she might blow up that fighter, but it's going to take that fight for her to find some legitimacy in what she's saying.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that she is. Right now, there is no one testing her. She is the baddest female in bare knuckle boxing. She also gets really upset over things that she really shouldn't do sometimes. Seen her get into it with Jamie Driver a few weekends over nonsense.
Yeah.
Because BoxRec has her as the number one welterweight women's bare knuckle boxer. Then her going in there telling her to get up some fights and then she can come talk to her. What do you mean? You guys are almost 3 weight classes apart.
Yeah.
He's fighting at 45. You're fighting at 25. There's more than 20 pounds between you two. Why are you two even arguing about anything?
Yeah, no. She's awesome. So she actually, her girlfriend lives where I live, and Christine comes to our gym like twice a month and like trains and stuff. And yeah, she always talks about who she has to fight and stuff. I said, who the fuck is there for you to fight? Like, we always talk about it. And she might have to go up some weights, though. I
heard the rumor was she wanted to go down to 25. I'm like, why would you want to go down where Britain's the champion there and you've already beaten her twice?
Yeah.
I could see her going up to 35 and sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to go back and forth like what Valentina Shevchenko did. I'm gonna defend my title, twice a year at 25, but I'm gonna help you build this 35 division and help bring some life to it. But they have to find her some fucking savages ASAP.
Yeah.
Or you're not only gonna waste her prime, you're gonna waste the opportunity of her being able to pass it on.
Yeah, she had that one with Taylor, and Taylor, we thought that was gonna be a banger. And
yeah.
That
whole thing was manufactured. Not to say I don't like Taylor Sterling as a person, as a fighter, of how they marketed that fight, how they put that fight together. I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah. You think it was too early in her career to fight Christian?
But who are we to say that right now? Because we know the state. I think it's more of a desperate thing where they're trying to help build Christine and also Taylor at the same time. And maybe it was a little too early for Taylor to have that fight. But we're not really in that position to sit there and say that because that's the position they're in. That's where the weight class is. That's where the sport is right now.
Yeah.
Can't really, like, I was sitting there like, was Mike Tyson ready when they just fucking threw him to the wolves when you either are or you aren't?
What?
You find out one way or another, okay, she wasn't quite ready. Let's go back in there. Let's work on X, Y, and Z, and let's see what we can get better between now and the next fight.
Yeah, true. Well, we got
Christine. I mean, Christine is looking to vilify her legacy, while someone like Taylor is looking to build up and continue to get experiences in the cage.
Yeah.
The only way she's going to do that, she tested herself. I'm not going to knock Taylor for what she's doing, but I didn't feel like that was a fair fight for either one of them.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's rough. It's just what are you going to do? You don't have a whole lot of girls that are knocking at the door. I want to fight Christine Ferreri. You're not going to have a whole lot of girls that do it because she is a terrifying woman to want to fight at that weight. There's no one there.
You're right though. They got to have a dog in there who says, "Fuck that, I'll fight her." Like that.
You have to find someone with her mentality, and that's the crazy thing about this sport is there's not a whole lot of them to find.
Yeah, it's true.
She is the best. I can't take that away from her. It's just she's in this unfortunate spot where it's almost like where Chris Cyborg was like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
where it's just like, who can she fight at that weight?
Yeah, that's true. She was wrecking shit.
Like even now, like all right, she's going over to Bellator. The UFC completely dissolved their featherweight division, and all the good featherweights are in PF.
Yeah.
In another situation where the best fighters in the world are not in her organization. It's crazy how some of the stuff works out in this sport sometimes. Like if you would have sat there and said to me, 10 years ago that, Brock Lesnar and Fedor wasn't going to fight, I would have laughed at you. I was like, oh, there's no way that's not going to happen, right?
Yep.
The George St. Pierre Anderson Silva fight, the UFC stole that fight from us. I don't care what anyone tells you.
That's facts.
They stole that fight for us and lied to us for 3.5 years. We have to wait for this fight. George left. Anderson, gets beat by Chris Weidman with, him goofing around and with the freaky, breaking his leg. Everything changed after that. That fight was never going to happen. And it's like almost the thing like that the UFC is kind of known for is missing the mega fights.
Yep. They are. The good thing is they're knocking on the head right now with IZZY, Aljamain, and stuff like that. These are some big fights coming up, but them legendary fights, you're right. They dropped the ball on them.
I don't think it's something they purposefully do. Like sometimes it's just how the business works out. Like you can't tell me right now they're not killing themselves for not being able to make the Francis Ngannou John Jones fight.
Oh man. Yeah, Francis is crazy because he went to Dave Philman and asked for an outrageous amount of money.
I know you work with the man, Dave. Dave made his bones in my backyard when before he made BKFC, he used to run XFC here in Philly. I used to cover it all the time, so I used to hear Dave talk about bare knuckle all the time. So, what did Dave sit there and say? What was the number that he was throwing around?
Oh shit! How much was UFC? How much do you think UFC was going to pay John? I
think they said. I think it was somewhere in the lines of like $7 or $8 million.
Yeah. See, he was trying to get boxing money, so I'm sure Francis was speaking like 10 to 50 million to fight. Like he thinks it's a boxing thing.
But here's the thing: don't Dave got investors? That's how we're bringing in all the talent he has over the last 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
So he has investors to actually take care of that. I think what it is Francis want that money, but he don't got that money draw.
Yeah, you're right.
As much as I love Francis, but he's not known for always getting that big knockout.
Yep.
He don't always get it. It's not something like it. It's not like something when we were watching Mike Tyson in the late 80s when you knew you turned that TV on when Mike was going to win. There was either two things was going to happen. Either Mike was going to starch him in like the first 10 seconds, or he's going to tool with him for about 2-3 rounds, and then he was going to starch him.
Yep.
So then, like, we seen this crazy stuff this week where Deontay Wilder is sitting there saying that he's the greatest knockout artist of all time. What?
Nah.
What? Did you not see Savage Dynamite Kid, Mike? Because I don't think anyone was more terrifying than him.
Yeah.
At that point in time in their career. The only point in time you could say someone that was more terrifying was you know, some of the late 90s, early 2000 you know, Pride and UFC guys like Wanderlei Silva was absolutely terrifying to watch. Rampage was an absolute murderer at point in times.
Yeah.
Those guys were knockout artists.
Yep.
Deontay Wilder still can't touch those guys, let alone talk about overtaking Mike Tyson as like the most prolific knockout puncher we know.
Yeah, no, he does got the touch of death, but he's not touching these.
He does. I mean, yo, you can't say that he doesn't have power.
Yeah,
you just don't have that power.
Yeah.
There's when we talk about it, like even in boxing, we talk about it in BKFC. There's specific types of people that can survive in bare knuckle.
Well, look at the dudes Mike Tyson was fighting compared to Deontay Wilder. He was
That's
fighting
the other thing. He was fighting some names.
Yeah, he fought Larry Holmes, didn't he? Yeah,
twice. Remember, he fought him in the parking lot first.
Yeah, and
people
then
forget about that.
Yep, and then Green
he fought him twice within 2 months.
Yeah. So compare the guys that Mike Tyson was knocking out to the guys that Wilder's knocking out. It's a broad spectrum.
And it just sucks. It just feels like when we were younger, we had like the golden era, and now boxing isn't what it used to be. I don't know if it's promotion wise, how that works, or just combat sports have grown, and some of those crazy knockout power guys that you used to see just in boxing are now in bare knuckle boxing, or now in the UFC, or now in Bellator, PFL, whatever, you know, over in ONE FC. That's where these guys or girls are now.
Yep. Well, and boxing's in their Floyd and Mayweather era. They're trying to get their money, go undamaged, get the fuck out of the sport. I like Tank and Ryan Garcia. That's a banger. That's a fight. But you look at like Triple G. And
you don't see no more Oscar De La Hoyas, Irish Mickey Ward, Vinny Panzianzas, Bernard Hopkins. You don't see these fighters anymore. They don't exist.
But they're waiting for dudes to get out of their prime. Like Canelo fought Triple G. Triple G was at the tail end of his career, and now you want to fight.
It was like the same thing with what Floyd did to Pac-Man. He knew what Manny would have did to him early on in his career. And he waited that fight till Manny started slowing down just enough.
Yep.
And then the funny part is Margarito's the one that actually knocks out Manny, and Manny was schooling him those first two fights.
Yeah, beating the shit out of him.
Like badly. It was like, why are we seeing this for? Oh wow, that's why we're seeing it for a fourth time. He just knocked him out. Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
like it's like that's how you felt about it. It's just it's one of the things like you steal things from fans.
Yep.
Because of greed, because of contracts, however you want to look at it, it's just one of those unfortunate things. Now, you know, we're seeing, you know, all types of people make fights all over the place. You know, we're seeing Nate Diaz is about to fight Jake Paul, who literally scared this guy out of his shorts 3 months ago.
Yep. I think Jake Paul is going to beat up Nate in a boxing fight, though.
I don't know, man. Nate has a boxing style, man. It's hard, man.
It is.
All I remember is a few months ago, Jake Paul was getting tagged up by the schmo, who is now just getting banned from UFC credentials now.
Yeah,
he's not even a fighter, and he had Jake on roller skates. What does he think Nate's gonna do?
That's true. It's just, man, it's hard to say because the way Nate fights.
He does, but see, he gets to get in there. I think he's gonna have a slight reach on him.
Oh yeah.
So even though Jake's gonna be the bigger guy overall, Nate's actually used to getting beat up by bigger dudes his whole life.
Yeah, that's true.
So as much as I think he on the books he might be the underdog, I'll take Nate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good bet to take because
But I mean, granted, I would rather see this in an MMA fight.
Yeah, I mean, Nate almost.
It's not like Nate was going to go right and go take him down. He's going to beat up on him.
Yep. I mean, Nate did almost knock out Leon Edwards, so you never know.
Yeah, Nate had to remind us about that after that fight.
Yeah.
He's put that post up there with the gif of the fight of the one moment where Nate was winning in that fight, right? Not to mention that he loses the fight, right? He gets beat up the whole rest of the fight, but he puts their end still. Gotcha, Nate.
Yeah. Can't take that away from him. He's a dog.
Oh man. Hey, listen, that's like your unicorn, man.
Yep.
You know, anytime McGregor wins a fight, he's gonna post up the one of him choking him out.
Yeah.
Now that's another one. You know, we talk about this all the time. Like, the Conor McGregor situation. He's probably going to not have to be in the testing pool for 6 months. He's going to get the Chandler fight and things of that nature. You think we need to get to a point where, like, just allow these guys to recover from injuries the proper way and you're, on hold from USADA until you're recovered? Because, like, we've seen guys do this where they get out of the testing pool to recover for whatever injury.
Yeah.
You know what the F they're doing. We know what it's for. It's for them to recover, not for them to go and cycle and try to be this fucking jacked out monster.
I mean, I agree that, take him out of there, but the Conor McGregor situation is kind of different from Chandler with them. Chandler's getting the money fight right now. If I was Michael Chandler, let Conor McGregor do whatever the fuck he wants because I'm getting paid and I'm sick.
That's probably what a lot of these guys are sitting there saying. Like,
yeah,
he wants to get paid because also I wouldn't want to wait for that payday because he might not get that fight at that point in time too. So Michael Chandler's definitely earned that spot. I mean, he was the original dude who started that the big name stuff going on over there in Bellator. If it wasn't for the Michael Chandler Eddie Alvarez fight, Bellator would have never blown up the way they did. I don't care what anyone says. I know they had a lot of stuff going on with a lot of their Brazilian fighters, with what they had going on with the Russian fighters and stuff like that. If it wasn't for the Eddie Alvarez Michael Chandler one fight on that tournament, we are not talking about Bellator MMA the way we talk about it today.
100%.
Now Michael Chandler's earned that spot. He's there. I don't think there should be a thing where they have to be in the testing pool for 6 months. Maybe an X amount of tests within an X amount of period of time before your fight. But to sit there and say it has to be 6 months, no, it doesn't have to be 6 months. I think that's a bunch of fucking nonsense. And I agree with the fact that they are allowing Conor to go as long as they test him properly in that period of time. I don't care.
Yep. Exactly.
Like, it's one of these things, like, you talk to some of the fighters that used to be in the UFC and they're out of the sport, and that's one of the things they talk about is I'm actually able to recover properly in the way I need to because this was banned by USADA and I couldn't use this to, recover from this shoulder injury, this knee injury, this whatever it happened to be. Like, when are we going to realize that, like, yes, it's good for certain instances, but some things there should be exemptions put in for athletes who were injured, et cetera, et cetera. Like, when you know it's legitimate, not when you could tell freaking you got somebody trying to pull one over on you and freaking trying to fight with an elevated testosterone. We don't want to see Uberim in there. We know what Alistair Overeem is.
Yeah. Christ.
And he just got nailed again too.
Did he?
Yeah, he just got nailed again. And
he was something different when he fought Brock Lesnar. That motherfucker was so big. That was an.
And he was talking. What was he? It's horse meat. I eat a lot of horse meat,
bro. Like Canelo with his chicken. Like, nah, bro, we know what the fuck's going on.
But it's one of these things. Like some of these guys are going. Like, what does it fucking matter anymore, dude?
Bro. Speaking of Michael Chandler, when I was in high school, I went to a fucking wrestling camp, Missouri. He wrestled at Missouri, and it was Ben Askren was there and all them. And I was sitting in my fucking room, and my door gets kicked in, and I was like, "What the fuck? Someone kicked in my door." Michael Chandler comes to me, and someone stole his slides at wrestling practice. And I was like, man, get the fuck out of here. I didn't take your slide. I didn't know who Michael Chandler was at all. And his coach and everything broke it up and all this stuff. Now, flash forward, I was like, damn, I would have got fucked up by Michael Chandler. I didn't even know it.
Oh, no, you never know, man. You know, when you're overly lost in the moment like that, you have blind rage, you ain't thinking correctly. You probably could have took him.
I would hit him with a fucking chair. I was prepared.
Right? Especially if you on some crazy shit. Nah, man.
Yeah, I was
Get the fuck down and listen to what I gotta say. I didn't take your shit.
Yeah. I was like, man, I'm 17-year-old. Ain't no fucking way I'm fighting this jack motherfucker right now.
Now, let's talk about your fight a little bit. Obviously, you know, you're gonna have some fun in there come the 12th. But what are you thinking of your opponent here? I seen the little put up you put up there. You guys, what are you looking for? Like, obviously, you're 2-0 in your first two. You're getting ready to attempt to make yourself 3-0 against your opponent here on the 12th. How excited are you for the matchup, and what are you looking to showcase come the 12th?
Oh man, I'm super excited for this fight. He's tough as hell. Like, I've watched this fight. He's game, and this is one of these fights where your stock will go up. Like, either of us, because he's not a bitch. I'm not a bitch. We're ready to fight, and I'm ready to showcase my skills. I've been waiting to put on, because that last bare knuckle fight I had was my very first ever boxing match or any of that. So none of these guys knew I could box. And I always heard in the MMA, because I always used to take these dudes down and beat them up. And they're like, oh, if we were standing,
you can't do that in boxing. You can't do that in boxing.
Exactly. So I was like, let me show you motherfuckers I can box. So yeah, man, I'm excited for it, man. It's gonna be fun. I'm ready to put on a show. That's all I'm ready for.
Now, I got a funny one for you. So when I seen that post, you know, the graphic I just put up of you and your opponent, couldn't help to think you got a celebrity doppelganger. I don't know if you noticed it yet, right?
Who?
The dude from Batman versus Superman was also in Marvel. You can't tell me that dude don't look like you, dude. You know, the henchman dude?
Oh, man. Yeah, I can see the similarities. That's fucking hilarious.
I was looking at that picture. I'm like, yo, why does that he looks familiar from something else, but that's definitely not him, though. I'm like, yeah, he does, man. He fucking looks like the henchman dude from Batman. You captured Martha, didn't you?
That's just hilarious. Yeah, the owner of our gym, Joseph Career, he fought on that last card versus Duke Sensley. His nickname is the Dark Knight, so I'm gonna fuck with him about that.
Oh yeah, that's a funny one, right?
Yeah, that's just hilarious.
I thought it was funny because, like, you know, like you see, like when you interview stuff and you watch TV enough, you get to see people's faces. I'm like, that you could seriously be his like dude stand-in or his stunt double or something, dude.
All I know is I hope Felony. You know who Felony Charles Bennett is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I coached him in Orlando a month ago, but he's at our gym. I hope he don't see this picture, because he's gonna roast the fuck out of me.
Wait, dude, you know we've had him on fairly recently.
Oh,
actually, the funny thing is, before he disappeared, he was supposed to be on Combat Deviants. You know, kind of fell through. I actually had this time when we scheduled him before his last fight, had to go through Mama this time to make sure he followed through, because he ghosted us last time. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, his fight, man, that shit made me so mad.
That was crazy, man. Him fucking Diaz picking him up and dropping him, man.
Yeah, they
what the, like, dude? I'm like, wait a minute, are we watching Bare Knuckle?
Yeah, man, that's my guy right there.
He's something else, man.
Oh yeah, he lives like 8 streets over from me. I always stop by and see him and ask what he's doing and stuff. That's my boy.
Yeah, I definitely got to hit him up with that. You're the you're the henchman dude from fucking Batman versus Superman.
He has a name for everybody he fights too. Anybody he fights, it's hilarious. the last bare knuckle one I coached with him was Goodjohn, and he called him turnaround G-string because he wore that fucking underwear at weigh-in.
Yeah. And speaking of which, yo, you seen the battle between Tyler and Tony Soto on fucking Facebook lately? These two are going at it hardcore, bro.
That's just hilarious. Yeah, Tony's a GOAT guy with me, so I'm rooting for Tony, but that shit's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm fucking pissing myself because but trying to get them both on the show, and then like I was going to get John on, and then I'm just sitting there watching these two go back and forth. I'm like, can't wait for this fight between the stuff. Yo, they like Dave, you gotta put them both on a pre-fight press conference, just them two.
Yep.
Make sure you put plenty of people in between them first and foremost. Let's start there. But yeah, we got to get some back and forth between them two. That's gonna be fucking epic.
Yeah, I think Tony's getting to him though. You can see Tyler, he's getting even more and more upset about it. I'm like, this is just what Tony does. He watch every fight he has. I mean, he said he's gonna.
He's like the little kid in the store winding up all the wind up toys, dude.
Yeah,
putting them down, letting them fucking cause havoc all over the place.
Yeah,
whatever. That just makes it easier for him. You're concentrating on what he was said instead of concentrating on what you need to do.
Yeah, that's a good fight though. That's a damn.
That really is a good fight. I'm really looking forward to that fight. Obviously, they're gonna be fighting same card as you. Yep. What is that the one fight you're really looking forward to outside of yours?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Blake, the co-main event. I want to see how he does. See if anybody can change up the pressure style. See if they can get inside on him because that's a big dude right there. But
going back to the big card, does Eddie Alvarez stop Mendez or does the underground Philly King fall to Mendez's speed and quickness?
I don't know. Everybody forgets that. Wasn't Alvarez like a Golden Gloves boxer too? Yeah.
Listen, he's I definitely biased when it comes to the Philly fighters. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not.
Hey.
Was definitely hating on Conor McGregor for like a good 3 years after he stopped that. He still have no love for him. My son's named Conor, and he loves Conor McGregor. I'm like, well, you realize he knocked out a Philly fighter to get that belt, right? He gets all quiet real fast because my kids like real loyal to our city and stuff like that. But it's one of the things like, yeah, a lot of people underestimate Eddie because he was the Bellator guy, because he was the guy that got beat by Conor, things all. Listen, Eddie's fought in some of the best of the best. He's trained with some of the best in the best of the world. I know where he's training right now. I know who he's been working with. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. Eddie has been this guy. He's just bounced around from place. He has never had an actual gym to call home.
Really?
When he went to the UFC, he went down to the Jocko Center down there in Florida. That wasn't his home. That's where he was training to go. He hasn't found a home with his gym. I think where he's at might be his home. We'll see how he looks when in his bare knuckle boxing debut. Yes, he was a Golden Glove boxer when he was a younger man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Eddie wasn't known for being a wrestler when he was an MMA fighter.
Yep.
He was known for being the undersized lightweight that would fight anybody who they put on the contract across from him.
Yep,
that's exactly what he was known for. So looking forward to seeing that fight. Obviously, going to be interesting to see how Rockhold looks in bare knuckle.
Yeah,
against Mike Perry, because if you ask me, Rockhold's more of a kickboxer than a boxer.
He ain't got a jaw either. He's proven.
That's the thing that everyone says. His jaw's done, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's.
I guess Mike Perry's the perfect guy to find out if it is.
Yeah, you're right about that. Look what he did to Michael Venom Page. I mean, shit.
Man, that dude is something else. Michael Venom Page.
Yeah.
He's like, as much as I love Bellator, he doesn't belong there.
No,
he doesn't.
He'd be a UFC superstar.
I mean, he is a superstar right now, but I think his star would shine 100 times more in the UFC just because of what they have access to, what They're like the promotion. He'll get stuff like that. Dude, they would have him in the UK. Like anytime they do an event there, he would just do a meet and greet, and probably you get 10,000 fans show up to it just because he's there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like he doesn't even need to fight. Like he's kind of like what George St. Pierre was the Canadian fighters during that time. Like he owns the UK. And then not to mention, like he's not just he's on that level of George's skill level. He's not the best welterweight in the world, but he has everything else that George didn't have. The having that thumb on the heartbeat of society, what pop culture, things of that nature. The stuff he does with the Pokemon, like that type of stuff, is something you can't put a price tag on. But that's who he naturally is, and that's why he would, if he was in any other promotion, but belt, or if he was in the UFC, he probably would be the most marketed fighter in the UFC.
Yeah.
Regardless of having a belt around his waist or not. And I think that's the one thing you knock the UFC about some of the things when we talk about fighter pay and how they take care of their fighters, but they do make sure that these athletes have an opportunity to grow their brand outside of just what they do inside that cage. And that's something I think doesn't get talked about enough when we sit there and point the finger, when we sit there and say the evil UFC, right? There's things that they do that isn't so evil too.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened this past year that I'm not happy about is the fact that we're sitting there talking about the death of Stephan Bonner when it's something that Dana White should have took care of years ago. You gave Forrest Griffin lifetime contract. He gets paid. He has all these positions, everything like that. We're not talking about the other side of that. If Stephan Bonner wasn't there, to have him go in the way he went, knowing it was medical stuff that was going on, knowing that he needed help financially in other ways to get there and didn't get it from them, you can have a black eye about that.
Yep, that's true.
But at the same time, we know that they can't take care of everything. That we know that I said it years ago when Dana's taken more or the day-to-day operations, that things would fall by the wayside and something will get missed. Lost Shane Burgos over this past year to PFL. He said it flat out. We fucked up. We dropped the ball. We're going to fix this. We heard that statement again a few weeks ago about something totally different to all of this.
Yep.
It's one of these things where we know you can't have more than one Dana White. But at the same time, you knew that the Fertitta brothers leaving Zuffa in the UFC was going to be an issue. I bet you we went back 5 years ago, we didn't think it would be this much of an issue.
100%. Yep.
But that being said, they have grown. They haven't grown inside the pro fighter side of things, which is why you see a situation. What Francis Ngannou did was more of a shedding light onto what some of the things the UFC didn't do.
Yeah.
He never was going to re-sign with the UFC. They were never going to agree to the terms. It was about those terms coming to light of what was being denied.
Yeah.
That I'll give Francis props to this dying day, regardless if it works out for him in boxing, bare knuckle boxing, some other MMA promotion, whatever. He did the right thing that day. If you knew you weren't going to come back, you knew they were going to offer the demands, make all those demands about everything, about what he did. Give him props for that, but it's one of these things where this sport is still young. It's still growing. We're not where boxing is, where, boxing's almost 150 years old as a professional sport, sanctioned throughout all these states. MMA has only been around for 25 years. Bare knuckle boxing's only been around for 5. So there's still a lot of gray areas, green areas, dark areas, whatever you want to call it. There's still a lot of growth going in combat sports, but I still feel it's heading in the right direction. There's going to be things that you don't like that's happened, that's going on. Hell, like it's, I still talk about, Tommy Morrison because of what I found out about the last few years. I don't know if you've seen it through, stuff that I've shared or whatever. Have you seen Trisha Morrison's posts?
Nuh-uh.
No, he never had AIDS, right?
He never had AIDS?
she has all this documentation from everything from Mark Ratner to everything. The 30 for 30 thing is a complete factuated lie from 3 different people.
How do
When
you
he died, there was no AIDS present in his bloodstream. To watch a man's career being,
what?
he made his own bad choices, but those things that happened to him placated to what he did, his bad choices, decisions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to know that's that you could have a lie that big, the right people buy along to it, and they can just destroy a person like that.
Yeah.
It just makes you wonder, man. Like, wow.
I didn't know that because all I heard
When you get done, get all. She has both a YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, the whole 9.
Damn.
Mark Ratner literally says that the cage or ringside meeting they had with the physician that wasn't a physician never happened. Apparently, his blood work was made public knowledge through Quest Diagnostics, who was run by what was it? Kevin Ioli's wife.
Yeah.
Kevin Ioli is probably the most prominent media member, combat sports wide in Las Vegas. So I believe that's a huge conflict of interest, right?
Yeah.
Who broke that story, by the way? Oh, right, Kevin Ioli.
What the fuck? I didn't even know that.
It's crazy. But Mark Ratner basically said the sworn statement they have from him never happened. All kinds of stuff. It's crazy because what could have been with Tommy Morrison, right?
Yeah.
He was riding high doing all this other stuff, and it was like since that time, even he did have boxing matches after his positive test where he went to blood work places with his opponent, made sure that he was all straight so he could have whatever fights he had.
Oh shit.
Just like imagine going through that stress of your opponent thinking that, you know, you have it and you're trying to go through the lengths to prove it so you can fight and make a living. Can you imagine that, calling your opponent like, hey, like, I know we have to deal with this nonsense. Like, you want to come with the blood work to make sure I don't have AIDS? Can you imagine having that conversation with somebody and then still having to try to deal with trying to exonerate your name because of whatever someone else wanted to do to you?
Can you imagine being Tommy during that situation? I wonder if it was in this era, not back then.
If it was in this era, they would have destroyed that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of how information exchange, like everything spreads and everything like that. They wouldn't have been able to keep up with the lies that they did.
Yeah,
they would all fallen apart. Like the fucking ringside physician isn't even a fucking doctor.
Yeah. Like
I'm just, some of the stuff that she's uncovered has blown my mind. And she's gotten court documents within the last 10 years stating this X, Y, and Z. So she's tried to find ways to exonerate her name. My thing now is like, you need to get on some of these bigger podcasts like Ariel Helwani, Joe Rogan, fucking Adam the comedian, whatever, dude. Like, you have to find people who had love for Tommy.
Yep.
That were big names, that were big people, to be able to talk to them, for them people to hear the story from you on whatever their platform is, and hopefully it touches the right people.
Yeah.
It's just sad to know that like we have this evil people inside our sport.
Yep.
And it's just because we're talking about this happened in boxing, mid to late 90s don't mean that these people still aren't involved in combat sports today.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like we were talking about, like modern day, like if Don King was around right now.
Isn't that Dana White right now? I mean, it is, right?
I don't know. Don King fucked Mike pretty fucking hard.
Well, he fucked Mike, dude. He fucked Tommy too. Who do you think? Here, you're sitting there saying Don King. All right, do you know who signed up when what I just told you happened? The whole Tommy Morrison thing. He had just signed a 3-fight deal worth millions of dollars with Don King.
Oh fuck!
So within 6 months of him signing, he literally destroyed Tommy's entire career.
Damn, who knows that?
I think that Don King's more behind that than I think anyone can prove. But the fact that happened, that he was supposedly the third fight on the deal was supposed to be Mike Tyson and Tommy Morrison.
Damn.
That was the reason for their partnership was Don King was going to deliver us Mike Tyson and Tommy Morrison. What could have fucking should have been. Holy fuck.
That's fucking crazy too.
Right?
Morrison was a fucking hammer back then, and
he had a goddamn sledgehammer for a fucking left hand, dude.
Yeah, fuck. And Tyson, anything he touched you with was fucking damage.
Well, could you imagine them not making the Holyfield fights and actually having fights with Tommy Morrison?
That'd have been way.
He was basically bred like the American Wonder at that time, and then he had the role in Rocky V and everything like that, and then everything just came apart, man.
He was the Conor McGregor back then.
Yeah,
he definitely was. Yeah, damn. Even though that Holyfield fight, man, that was a good fucking fight. Tyson and him, Jesus Christ. Because Holyfield was a dog. He's one of the few guys.
He was just one of those guys that you just couldn't put away, and it was hard to beat his style. And that's what got Mike, man, is that he knew how to slip the big power punches. So when Mike would try to unload on him, he was just wasting his energy because Vander was slipping them, and then when they were moving in, and that's when they conked heads, and that started the whole fucking thing off. And I'll never forget that, dude. That was just one of those times in sports. It was just you had to have been there, you had to have been watching, and it was just a time, man. Mike Tyson was definitely special. No. And then, like you see him there, like when you see his podcast and stuff like that. Seeing how much he's changed over the last 15 years.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, we actually do mature and grow up at some point, huh?
Yeah, right. It's all them shrooms.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy some of the stuff that goes on in combat sports, some of the stories we get told and stuff like that. It's why I generally enjoy like having these conversations with athletes of all walks of life, from guys like you. We just had Sydney on earlier. We got I say it doesn't matter if you're an amateur, having your second, third fight, or even your 10th amateur fight. You're getting ready to turn pro, or you're making your pro debut, or you're headlining the card. You're the champion in the card. You're the top draw in the sport. We all are like onions, man. We got stories involved in us. It all just takes the right conversation, the right setting to talk about it, get it out, whatever. We all got different aspects, opinions, and lives and things of that nature. It's why we all do this, man.
So, speaking of making fights, what about Alan Belcher and old Arnold? Does he think?
Man, see, here's something. I got massive love from Alan since back in his early UFC days. Interviewed him before the last fight. Actually, waiting for him to send a few cards back, send him out to get signed to do for one of our other programs we're doing on here. I got a sports cards and hobby show that we're doing here on Belly Up Sports.
Yeah,
trying to get some stuff back for him. But that fight has to happen.
Yeah.
I as much as I love Alan, as much as you love his team, if you're not thinking about running that back, what are we talking about?
Exactly.
Everyone was upset about, the referee did this, the judge did it. Like, listen, dude, that's not on Alan, first and foremost. Anyone has an issue with Alan because the referee didn't do this, the one part that, Arnold didn't help his fact, but any which way, whatever, because he's standing over Alan like a freaking goofball.
Yeah.
That's his fault right there. That probably cost him the belt right then and there.
Yeah.
Can't be upset what happens after that. At the same time, we do expect, if you're not fighting Arnold now, then it better not be more than after this next fight and you just want some fresh meat in there because you're pissed off at Arnold for whatever reason.
Yeah. I don't get that. They definitely need to run that back. That'd be it. That you talk about a big fight.
That's the things that you're looking for in BKFC and bare knuckle in general, is to find these fights that are intriguing people and not getting outside of the rabid avid fan to tune in.
Yeah,
it's one of the things that we're just sitting there saying that we need for Christine. You need this for your heavyweight division, man.
Yep. Just like so in Richmond, they need to run that back because that was crazy.
I don't see, and I don't get why people have this hate on Richmond. I mean, I obviously I think Hunt's a little bit over the top, but listen, we're talking about bare knuckle boxing and combat sports. At the end of the day, you want to have guys like that involved in the sports because they make it fun.
Yeah.
And you ask me, his mold is off of freaking the guy we just talked about in a Rampage Jackson, because that's exactly who he reminds me of. If you put Rampage in the sport when he was a younger man, that's who you're looking at.
Yep, 100%.
It's Hunt right there. Hunt is a mold right after Rampage Jackson. That's my thought on it. But yeah, I do think they should have ran that back, and I don't think anyone takes an L any better than Mike, because he's sitting there. I guess he was coming across his TikTok feed, seeing a short of him being starched. It was like, hey, look, I found myself being put on a clip on TikTok. But it's like he has one of those personalities where like you just can't help but enjoy watching him, enjoy talking to him. That's why you want to see that fight, is because first and foremost, everyone was sitting there saying everything that they were doing was staged. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I just seen two guys that wanted to throw hands with one another.
Yeah,
and that's what happens in these sports, especially when y'all get to throwing words around.
Yeah, that's great. Did you hear about Elvin, his opponent?
Yeah, he lost his fight, man. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, apparently that dude didn't want to make some weight.
As we were just talking about in Sydney, because like apparently, we're at this point where weight's such an issue in BKFC. I don't know. You know what the fucking weight classes are.
Yeah.
Are we really still having this conversation?
I don't get, like, I'm cutting my weight. I started at this weight cut at 215, but I wrestled my whole life. So 165 ain't shit for me to make, because it's like, I have to make it. I signed the contract. It's like, fuck you, I'm making this weight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, if you don't want to, if you know you can't make the weight, don't sign that fucking contract. Either do it or fucking don't.
And that's what Sydney was basically sitting there saying right as you came on, is basically, unless like if I make the weight and you don't, fuck off. I'm not giving you percentage of nothing. You know what the fucking weight is. I don't blame people anymore. Like listen, like we know what, like unless we're talking about a short notice fight, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
She's like, if I'm sitting there, I know what I look like when I'm dying to cutting weight. When you're sitting there hopping around, jumping around, you got all this energy doing these interviews and stuff like that. When it comes to weight, you're I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I agree with you there. We should be having that conversation.
Yeah.
I was making the point, like, I remember being in one of the early Invictas where Leslie Smith was trying to make 125 pounds and looked like she was Skeletor's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, you see fighters when they go way beyond to make weight, and then you see fighters that just nonchalant about it, like, oh, I'm not cutting that. Well, then move up and stop wasting fucking people's time.
That shit pisses me off too, because me, like I said, wrestling since I was 11, killing my fucking self, because we didn't weigh in the day before. We weigh in the morning of and wrestle that fucking day. So you're fucking dying. You got an hour to eat whatever the fuck you want, but you're fucking dead to make that fucking weight. That's your main goal, is to make that fucking.
That's the first job you guys have as athletes. The first thing on the contract is weight, right?
Yep.
It's weight. So that's your first job. First job in the fight world is I have to make 135 pounds, 155, whatever it may be. That's your first job, is making the weight. After that is going to win the fight.
Yep.
To get your money.
Yeah.
So first half of the money, because how we do this is show and win, right? This is how we do everything. So you show up, you make the weight, you get your first half of the money. You win, you get the other half of the money. It is not rocket scientists anymore, people.
Yep.
We're not talking to the fifth graders. We're talking to grown professionals. We're not talking about amateurs, because amateurs, we were not having this conversation. We're talking about professionals who freaking know better.
Yep. Yeah, it's your job to make that weight. And you're right. The first thing you see on your fucking contract is you're fighting so-and-so at certain weight. This weight. It's fucking stupid to me.
But we still have to have these freaking conversations, because
we always have these conversations.
But way past what we were going to be on. Really appreciate everything tonight, Tim.
Yes, sir.
You caught the end of her interview, so you know what's about to come. As we wrap things up, I throw the proverbial microphone over you. Anyone would like to thank, trainer partners, teammates, shoot at them social media sites, any sponsors you may have, anything you're doing outside of the combat sports world that you would like to let the people know about. The time is yours, my friend.
All right. I want to shout out my sponsors, Familiar Relentless, Martin Heaton and Air, my coaches, Joseph Creer, Chance Crosby, everybody at Bad Apple MMA. Other than that, man, May 12th, we're going to put on a fucking show. Me and this guy are going to fight. It's a big fight. I'm coming for everything. I got to get through this guy to get where I want to be. So y'all tune in May 12th because it's going to be a fucking show.
I expect nothing less. It's going to be a fun one down there in Greenville, South Carolina. BKFC 42, May 12th. BKFC is basically the premier promotion when it comes to bare knuckle boxing, bare knuckle fighting championships. Tim is one of the higher prospects coming out of their lightweight division. Definitely going to want to tune in and check him out. Tim, appreciate the time tonight, man. Definitely want to have you back on here again in the future. Let us know how everything goes. Best of skill to you in the upcoming fight, man. Hopefully you get out of there unscathed and we can have you back on here again soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Definitely. All right, Tim, have a good one. All right, everyone. That was our final guest of the evening. That was BKFC lightweight, Mr. Tim Hester. Gonna have some fun stuff lined up for us. Hopefully, we will get our next episode of Hardcore Hobby Talk scheduled and loaded up in the next week or so to get it out for you the following week. We will be back here on Combat Deviants next Friday night, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Other than that, I'm Steve. This was episode 30 of Combat Deviants. I will catch you guys on the rebound. Peace out.